Hi everyone, are you ready for a legendary battle between two icons in the entry-level diver market? Then let's not waste any more time. In the left corner we have the Seiko SKX779K, nicknamed Black Monster. In the right corner we have the Citizen NY0040 Promaster, nicknamed the Underdog by yours truly. After having owned the Seiko for years, and since recently I own the Citizen Promaster, I feel it's time to compare these two icons. These watches are very similar on paper but differ on various points. The one you will eventually pick will have much to do with personal preference. You can't go wrong with either of these watches, to be honest. Let's start with the Seiko. I've owned this watch for more than 8 years and I recently sold it. These watches are a classic case of hate it or love it. The reason I was able to sell the watch without losing any money is the fact that these watches have a true cult status. The Seiko first came to the market in 2000, and a few years later, with the internet developing, people started writing about these watches and making video reviews. This watch is the definition of a tool watch and has a big fan base. With tool watch I mean a very robust watch that can take quite some beating. These watches are made with a certain task in mind and they can perform under extremes. Seiko does not fabricate the Black Monster no more. This adds to their exclusiveness. Since a few years there's a second generation Monster on the market. Almost all colors are available. In the beginning there was only the Black Monster and the Orange Monster. People love these watches for its design or the lack of it. People also respected its ruggedness. Quality wise it will put much more expensive watches to shame. If you can overcome its bulky appearance, you will respect it. Definitely an icon of a watch. Every watch enthusiast should have owned one for at least a few months. The lume on this watch is legendary. Light it up and it will shine bright through the night. Also Seiko uses a hardlex crystal. It is not necessarily very scratch resistant, but it can handle the force of impact of objects better than sapphire glass. Last but not least, this watch is an ISO certified diver, making it perfect for scuba diving. Moving on to the Citizen Promaster. The watch I replaced my Seiko with is this Citizen watch. Such an underdog compared to the Seiko, but it has the same build quality and in my eyes is just a little bit more refined. I love the tool-like appearance of the Black Monster, but over the years my taste changed somewhat. I really like and respect automatic dive watches, so I replaced the Seiko with the Citizen NY0040 Promaster watch. Available for about €200, which is the same price for the Seiko on a rubber strap. This watch came to the market in 1997. It wears a lot smaller than the Seiko. If you have smaller wrists, just like me, this watch will fit you better. On a metal oyster bracelet it even becomes somewhat of a dress watch. Definitely less bulky looking than the Monster. Guess the Seiko wasn't nicknamed Monster without a reason. For some people this watch is quite small when you compare it to the normal standards. But soon you will get used to it and sometimes wonder why we all have the need to wear bigger watches. Another cool feature is the fact that the crown of this watch is at the 8 o'clock position, which is quite unique. The Seiko has the crown at the 4 o'clock position and that was nice. Still, occasionally the crown was digging into your wrist. With the crown at the 8 o'clock position, this does not happen anymore. Only downside is that the winding and adjusting of the watch is less easy since the crown is located at the left side of the watch. But hey, you adjust the watch, wind it and wear it. Let's compare these watches step by step. Let's start with the movement. The Seiko watch has the 7S26 movement with day-date functionality. This automatic movement has a maximum power reserve of 40 hours. It has 21 joules in its movement and ticks with 21,600 vibrations an hour. This comes down at 6 ticks a second. The movement was first introduced in 1965 but re-released in 1996. And in the basis it has a traditional spring and a non-winding mechanism. Furthermore, it is a non-hacking movement. These joules make sure that there's less friction in the movement. Watches typically have between 17 to 21 joules. The more joules does not make the movement better or more accurate. Quartz movements have less joules since they are battery powered. The optimal temperature for operation is between -10 and +60 degrees. The DiaShock system makes it resistant to heavy shocks. All watches with the movement from the 7S family are quite robust to external forces. Quality-wise and price-wise, these movements are definitely one of the best value for money. Now the Citizen, also an automatic watch, has the Mayota 8203 movement, also with 21 joules and 21,600 vibrations an hour. Claimed power reserve for this watch is 45 hours. Some sources mention 42 hours, which is more than the Seiko. This is also a non-hacking movement, but it does have the option of hand winding. Accuracy for this movement is between -20 up to +40 seconds a day, but other sources say -10 up to 20 seconds. From my own experience though, I own this watch only for 6 weeks, I must say the accuracy is much better than the Seiko. Maybe it's because I'm lucky or I wear the watch more often than I did with the Seiko. Out of the box, the Mayota movement seems to be more accurate. That is my experience. So how about accuracy? The Seiko runs either slow or fast, up to 20 seconds slow a day or up to 40 seconds fast a day. There are ways to train your automatic to become more accurate. Some people let their watch sleep upside down. This apparently has something to do with the wear and tear of the movement, and in that way you can adjust the accuracy. Myself, I did not experiment with this, but that's what some sources claim. Some people buy automatic watch winders to keep the power reserve of the watch full, even if they don't wear the watch. The watch forums tells me that some people have been able to get the 7S26 movement down to ±5 seconds a day. The Mayota 8203 also has a long track record of being an accurate workhorse. It's difficult to compare the two movements. The only difference is the fact that the Mayota movement is windable and tends to be calibrated more accurate than the comparable 7S. The rotor only winds one direction. The 7S is bidirectional. Also, when adjusting the day and date, I can't help getting the feeling that this is kind of a cheap movement. Again, this is just a feeling. The Mayota is quite solid instead. Mayota is used in many watches and brands with various price points, while the 7S movement is largely used by Seiko itself. Both movements are around for 2 decades with a good track record, both being solid, affordable and a perfect workhorse for a dive watch. Now let's move on to some measurements. Let's start with the Citizen. The case width is 42mm. Lug to lug is 48mm. Lug width is 20mm. The thickness is 12mm. And the crown diameter is 5.5mm. Now let's check the Seiko. Lug to lug, this watch is 48mm. The thickness is 14mm. The lug width is 20mm. And the case width is 42mm without the crown and 47mm with the crown. How about the cool factor of these watches? Many people will say the Black Monster is cooler since it has more of a distinct look about it. That's the exact reason I bought the watch in 2011. Back then it came with a rubber strap, making it very comfortable to wear. Years later I bought a metal bracelet and this made the watch stand out even more. But in all honesty, it made the watch too bulky, and with a metal bracelet, more prone for scratches. Now 8 years later I sold it because the bulkiness of the watch made it harder to wear on a daily basis. So I only wore it in the weekends. In the end I barely wore it at all, and decided to sell the Monster to another enthusiast. Luckily for me, the watch did not depreciate in value at all. So tell your bookkeeper this is a solid investment. The Citizen is more civilized in a way. This watch can easily be a daily. And I do. I now wear an automatic all week and it's reliable and accurate. Something that should not be taken for granted, especially at this price point. In terms of coolness, I let the Seiko win, just because it's an icon and it's more outspoken than the Citizen. Let's move over to the verdict. For me personally, I picked the Citizen. More subtle, smaller and drawing less attention to itself and probably more accurate. This watch will get more wrist time, I already know that. In fact, you can't go wrong with either watch. If you dive on a weekly basis, the Seiko is probably better. The loom is outstanding and the watch is in terms of design very much tool based. This is your daily diver. Also the Citizen is an ISO based diver, but does have characteristics to make it an ideal daily watch. It all depends on taste. Spec wise the watches are almost identical. Accuracy in a dive watch is important, but the people that understand the inner workings of these movements know that they will always run either fast or slow. If you value accuracy very much, then get a solar powered and radio controlled G-Shock instead. The best watch for the job. If you like the tech of automatics, pick one of these two watches I just reviewed. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section under this video. Feel free to share this video on watch forums. Thanks for watching, see you guys in the next video.